Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the Vortex and landed at episode number 129. And grab your celery stick. We're celebrating the 5th Doctor. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
That was terrible.
That was terrible.
Didn't even sound like celery.
Didn't sound like celery.
Yeah, I'm glad.
How are you guys?
I would allow rutabaga, but
Rutabaga.
just because I like saying it.
What is rutabaga?
It's a vegetable.
I know, but I mean, what is it? What exactly is it? I don't think I've ever had rutabaga.
It's a red vegetable, isn't it?
It's a root.
It is a root? Kind of like rhubarb. Oh, no, you're not
I'm
supposed
thinking
to eat the
rhubarb. I don't know what a rhubarb
No,
is.
you can
Wait,
eat
the root.
you can eat the
You
rhubarb.
can't
You just don't rub them.
Don't
rub
rub
'em?
rhubarb?
Don't rub a rhubarb.
Why is that?
I don't know. The Joker said that.
Oh. I know the leaves.
I have
or
no
something's
real knowledge. It all comes
poisonous
from
on
pop
it,
culture. Right?
There's a part of rhubarb that's poisonous, though, right? You're not supposed to eat.
I'm assuming it's not the part they put in pie.
I would hope not.
Going down this path early.
Gutters.
Happy Father's Day, Glenn.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
How was your Father's Day?
It was very nice. Kids took me out to lunch at Old Chicago, and
Ooh, that's
we
always good eating.
just kind of spent a lazy afternoon doing next to nothing today. So
Nice.
No yard work.
no yard work,
Was
No
that,
gu-
was
no
that
gutters?
Saturday and
no
stuff?
gutters today.
No
No,
light bulbs.
the only yard work I did this week at all was mow, and that was on Friday. So nothing else. Lazy weekend. Saturday we went to my father-in-law's house and had ice cream and stuff, and then we went out for pizza in the evening. So yeah.
Do you need an Excedrin? You look.
No, I'm on.
I've
got naproxen in my body right now. Doesn't seem to be doing any good, but
Would the
that's the other thing is
would
I
the
hurt my lower
rolling
back this
chair
week.
help?
It might. I don't know.
If you want to switch to the computer chair, you can.
I might.
It goes up, it tilts back, it's comfortable.
See, I can't. I gotta be
Oh,
upright.
it can
I
lock
gotta
it-
be upright or leaning forward.
It can lock in, so.
Yeah. I had a doctor's appointment this week. I checked
We could
out
all
pretty good,
stand
other
as
than my
sympathy.
lower back, but
Well, that's good.
got some arthritis coming on.
Oh, and you went to see a movie.
I did. I went and saw Man of Steel on Thursday night.
Did you go
Friday
Thursday night too? Or
I
you
did go Thursday night.
I missed him. I sat next to Blake.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. They just randomly saved me seats because, a whole bunch of us from work went,
Yeah.
and I didn't get out till late because we had the NBA game, Game 4, the NBA Finals. And so I didn't get out until about 11:30, and so I rushed over there real quick. Well, a bunch of them were holding seats for me, and the weird thing is they were holding seats, and the seat right next to my seat was Blake. He sat down, and he was like, "Hey, what are you doing here? How random."
Was there more than one showing, or did you go? You went in 2D, right?
I went in 2D.
Did you go
I also
3D?
went in 2D, and there was more than one.
So they
showing
added
at it.
other
There was a
showings.
2D and a 3D.
Well, yeah,
But no,
No,
the
that was
2D,
it.
the 2D was in 2 different theaters
they had
because
two,
other
they had
groups
two
of
2D.
a bunch of us
showings
went
then.
from work, and a bunch of us were not in the same theater as us because they had to go to a different showing of it. So
But you were in the same theater.
I was
as
in the
Glenn.
same theater with Glenn,
That
although I
is-
didn't know it until I
you
ran
had-
into Blake afterward.
That's
Oh,
interesting
okay.
that you say that. They must have done that really late because at 11:15 I called and they said that they had two showing. They had three showings, but one was the 7 o'clock, one was a 3D showing at midnight, and one was a 2D showing at midnight. That was
Yeah,
it.
apparently they added one really late then,
Oh.
or for overflow or something. I don't know, but
Well, that's weird because they didn't sell ours out. Ours had a lot of empty seats.
Yeah.
in it.
Interesting.
maybe they thought they were going to, or I don't know. That's weird. I wish I'd have known that our theater wasn't sold out and there were a lot of empty seats because we were down front
Oh, were you?
in the second row.
Ooh.
Well,
So I watched
the
Superman
lot of
like
empty
this.
seats were the one here, one here, one here.
I'd have made Mel sit by herself. As opposed to this.
In fact,
yeah.
when I walked up at about 11:38, there were people still buying tickets. So
Oh, wow.
Yeah. No, like I said, I don't know what happened, but I know that Derek and Drew went from work and they were in the other theater.
Well, me too.
And they didn't see it in 3D because Derek does not or not Derek, Brett. I keep calling him Derek. Brett does not do 3Ds, period.
No, me too.
So he did Avatar and he said, I'm done. I will go see the next Avatar movie in 3D. I don't want to see it in 3D. So,
My brother-in-law saw it in 3D on IMAX and said it was awesome. But he often buys into that 3D stuff.
It's a great movie. It's a lot of fun.
We are, of course, talking about
very energetic.
Man of Steel, if you hadn't figured this out.
I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody, especially since Keith hasn't seen it yet.
I have not.
So that one part where that thing happened to that guy? Oh, my God.
Did you guys see the Easter egg, though? I know about the Easter egg.
Oh, it's the Easter egg?
There were,
on the satellite?
Technically, there are several.
Oh, yeah, but the major Easter egg on the satellite.
See, I don't even think that's the major one.
But satellite, I saw one on the tanker.
On the tanker truck.
Yeah, tanker truck.
Right
Was
after
that a Lex logo?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm talking about a different logo.
Yeah, there's there's a LexCorp logo on the tanker truck that he gets smashed into, and then right after that scene, when they go up into orbit, the satellite they kind of bounce off of has a Wayne Enterprises logo on it.
Oh, it did.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's a nice nod.
And it's the same
it's the beginning.
Enterprise logo from.
I'm sure.
They
Which
wouldn't have had time to redesign.
Well, Zack Snyder says it's a nod to Christopher Nolan, not necessarily a nod to Batman. But
as soon as you said that, that's what I thought. Is because Nolan produced this.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a good film. It's a great Zack Snyder superhero action film, but it doesn't feel like Superman.
way to tap dance all the way around now.
It is. It's an enjoyable film. It feels very Zack Snyder. It feels very un-Superman. So that's my only complaint about it, is that it's a Superman movie that doesn't feel like a Superman.
So as a person who's watched the older Superman movies and never been a big fan of Superman.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not just I'm not just comparing this to the movies either.
Yeah, but someone who's never been a very big fan of Superman because he's too shiny and happy will probably like it better.
It's dark. It's an edgier Superman, for certain.
That was my complaint. I mean, like I said, I loved it. I thought it was great. It was very enjoyable. I love Zack Snyder's stuff, though, so maybe that, I know that you're not as big a fan.
300 was fantastic.
I think
Watchmen was great.
300's his weakest.
Sucker Punch
I haven't
was
seen Sucker
horrible.
Punch yet.
It was just terrible.
I like Sucker Punch, too.
It was horrible.
But are you basing that off the script or the direction? The difference is he that's the only one he
Let's
wrote.
just say his direction did not rescue the script.
I think Sucker
that's the
Punch
problem.
is an
That's the only one he
undiscovered
wrote.
gem there. I think it's Sucker Punch is very much. I'm going to briefly tangent in this. We're going to move on, but Sucker Punch is very much a 13-year-old boy's adolescent dream. I get that, but there are a lot of tiny little sub-levels that once you really start to delve into that film, it's very Inception.
That's the problem.
The problem is Inception came out first.
It needs to be a 42-year-old's dream for me to appreciate it, I think.
Needs to be about gutters and
housework, gutters and yard work,
installing windows.
I really enjoyed Man of Steel. It's darker than I wanted and darker than I like my Superman to be. The
Krypton stuff was incredible.
That was one of the things I had problems with.
The Krypton stuff was fantastic.
I thought Russell Crowe was phenomenal. I wasn't sure about him, but I liked him as Jor-El.
He did a fine job as Jor-El.
He's no Marlon Brando. How do you follow Marlon Brando?
I've never been a fan of Marlon. Brando is Jor-El, though. So,
I thought Kevin Costner was phenomenal.
He was great. Diane Lane.
I loved all the Kansas. I thought was very well represented. Which this is coming from Kansas.
For a movie being entirely shot in Illinois.
Yeah, well, minus points for that. Coming from Kansas, we are so often the butt of the joke, and we've kind of dabbled in the Oz mystique and whatnot. But Superman's from Kansas, and so there's always that great, and you steel yourself for it. Okay, here it comes, and
there was a lot of what I want to say. There was a lot of building up of Kansas in this, which was cool.
Yeah, very much.
That's nice.
Very, very cool.
And the crowd reacted appropriately, I think, to some of the finer moments.
I'm from Kansas. How much more American can you get? That was one of the lines that Superman says. It was terrific.
But, K-State, KU, and the Royals all got shout-outs.
Nice.
They very wisely stayed away from the Chiefs.
I've seen the trailer where he's wearing the KU shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's got a Royals shirt on at one point, too. So.
Nice.
Yep.
Very cool.
But yeah, totally worth seeing. Go see it.
We're going to go tomorrow. What else you do, Sean? Anything?
Not really. I caught up on algebra homework, and we had Katrina this weekend, so we, palled around with her, did a lot of stuff, but nothing. I mean, did a lot of nothing. I think was really kind of the key.
Just kind of a nothing weekend.
I rented Mortal Kombat I don't know if I told this story or not. I don't think so. I rented Mortal Kombat from work and realized
we
how
talked about it last week.
out of video gaming I've been because my thumb still hurts.
Oh.
I've got Mortal Kombat thumb.
Carpal tunnel.
No, just Mortal Kombat thumb.
Button mashing.
From the button mashing.
Button mashing. But, we watched Taken 2.
Oh, how was that? Any good?
It's worth watching. It's nowhere near as good as the first one. I mean, how could it be?
I still haven't seen the first one.
Oh, the first one's phenomenal.
Yeah,
the first one's really, really good. The second one's kind of like, eh.
Been there, done that.
Anytime you spend watching Liam Neeson beat people up isn't time well spent. But at the same time, you just, yeah, okay. And apparently they asked him in an interview, they said, so is there going to be a third one? And he goes, no. And they're like, really? You don't, with, this guy, he says, if it happens a third time, it's bad parenting.
True story.
So,
more importantly, what did you do this weekend?
Yeah.
Yours was the big one.
Well, wait.
I heard you went somewhere.
Before I get to my trip, I want to say I rewatched Superman the movie and Superman 2.
Did you give it 3?
I'm not going to watch 3. And I'm not going to watch 4, and I'm not going to watch Returns. I just wanted to freshen myself up on the origin and Zod going into Man of Steel.
It won't matter.
Superman.
I don't know. There were a lot of parallels.
Just from rewatching and seeing the trailers, I'm expecting a decent amount of parallels.
Nah.
But from what you've told me now, I expect a little less. But I enjoyed 2 a lot more than the first one.
Did you watch Theatrical 2 or Donner 2?
Theatrical 2. I didn't get around to Donner 2.
Okay.
I don't understand why he has a thing for Lois. That is one of the stupidest women on the planet.
Which part? The climbing up the Eiffel Tower?
That one. The throwing herself in the river. It's mostly 2 that I'm like, what the hell are you doing? What is going through your mind? And then
I quite liked Amy Adams' turn.
I'm
looking forward to seeing her portrayal.
She did a great job.
And then I turn to Clark and Superman, and what are you doing? She fell in love with Superman. She didn't fall in love with Clark. She's not going to love you without your powers. What? It's just there's a reason I don't.
A shallow woman.
As she is. As fun as the movies are, there's a reason I don't go back and rewatch them a lot, because they kind of. Parts of it make me angry, and parts of it I'm just having fun with it.
I really, really want you to watch the Donner cut now.
Okay, I'll keep
that.
the box set. I won't return it, and I'll watch the Donner cut.
Of course, I really want you to watch 3 and 4. And
I'm not going to watch 3 and 4.
You'll be happy to know that everybody at work disagrees with me. Because I made that. I came in, and James looked at me. He says, you really think that Superman 3 is, quote, far superior, or Superman 4 is far superior to Superman 3? I said, yes, absolutely. So now everybody's of the opinion that I think Superman 4 is an Oscar-worthy contender or a masterpiece. And I keep trying to explain to him, no, that's just how big a dog turd Superman 3 is.
I'll give him this. He has no love for Superman 4 either, but he just thinks Superman 3
He's just using it as a comparison.
Yeah, Superman 4 is a horrible film, but I would watch it all day, every day before I boot up Superman 3. Like, my version of hell, I think, is me in the Clockwork Orange headgear being subjected to Superman 3 over and over and over again. Ugh.
But the other stuff we did this week...
What else did you do this weekend?
Friday, Sarah and I drove to Kansas City and hopped on a plane and flew to Virginia after a layover in Chicago to visit my sister, because she graduated from Stratford University.
Congratulations to your sister.
With an associate of applied science of culinary in baking. I think that's right. It's an associate's in baking.
That's a long title for cook.
No, Baker. Different
Than cook?
She calls the cooks meatheads. It's a big difference, apparently. Which it is. Being someone who dabbles in cooking, it is a big difference. But so we went up there.
So you're a meathead?
No, I do both. I bake too. So it was a very, very...
He does bake. He bakes very well.
Oh, thank you. It was a very whirlwind
I don't think
trip.
he has an associate's...
I don't have an associate's of applied science of culinary art and baking.
He doesn't have one of those, but he bakes well.
And my dad and my stepmom were up there, which was nice since it was Father's Day weekend. So I got to spend Father's Day with my dad in Virginia and Maryland, along with my sister. Very whirlwind. We came back today, Sunday. So we had one full day up there. The graduation was chaos. It was in a hotel, and it's kind of like this university has multiple campuses. So they brought all 7 campuses together, and then everyone brought their families, and there wasn't enough room for everybody. And everybody was standing and pushing forward, trying to get pictures, and everybody was talking. You couldn't hear the speeches. It was the most chaotic graduation I've been to. But then that was over, and
as long as the students heard the speeches, that's
now the graduation was in Chicago.
No, the graduation was in
Chicago,
Arlington, Virginia.
Chicago. Where do you think he went?
He said he had a layover.
We had a
in
layover in
Chicago.
Chicago.
Layover.
A layover.
You know what a layover is? That's when you wait
I
to
don't
change
know how
trains.
long the layover was.
No,
okay, Grandpa.
Okay,
the stagecoach pulled over the side of the road and you had a layover.
Don't feel bad, Sarah. I kept telling Sarah we're going to Maryland, when in reality we were flying into Virginia. My sister lives in Maryland, but she lives so close to D.C. and Virginia that the drive from her place in Maryland to the airport in Virginia is only 45 minutes. So she's right on the border.
Okay.
With Washington, D.C. So we flew to Chicago, then flew to Virginia, to Dulles, and then took the highway to Arlington, which was, I guess, I can never tell if it's a community, like a what's the other word for?
It's a suburb.
A suburb or an actual city.
Arlington?
Yeah.
It's its own city, but
it's essentially incorporated.
Everything out there. Everything out there is there's like core cities, and then there's so many suburbs around those that everything kind of blends.
It all blends. I can never tell where.
Like Overland
so
Park
Arlington is not a suburb
city.
to anything, but there's so much suburban
Yeah.
in between that it melds. It all becomes one sprawling metropolitan area.
One nice thing about Virginia and Maryland
I really thought you were
highways.
going to go there. You said Metro, and I was like,
oh,
so we're on the Superman talk. Metro, no,
not metropolitan. Metropolis.
Not Metropolis.
You're off
Some
today.
Metro.
The nice thing about the highways
that.
is when you're on the highways, you don't really see much of the suburbs, and because it's all tree lined, so it's pretty cool. You are suddenly just trees, and then you're in the next town. But then we went to the hotel, and which was all in Arlington. We were right next to the Pentagon, which we didn't know was there until my sister was looking at the GPS and said, "Hey, I think that's a Pentagon." And we kind of look out the window, see trees and a wall, and look back at the Pentagon, or the GPS, and we're like, yeah, I guess that probably is. And we could see the spires of the Air Force Memorial, which is nearby the Pentagon. But then after graduation, we went to the Air Force Memorial, went and saw that, and that was the only really touristy thing we did, other than going to see one of the shops where my sister works and kind of wandered around that area, and then went to a very nice dinner and celebrating her graduation and Father's Day, and then went back and gave out presents and cut a cake that my sister made, which was very delicious. And then today
She had to make her own cake.
Like any of us could
That's
do it
so
as
rude.
good.
If you had
applied
say it again.
An associate's in applied science. Arts, and if you had an
Culinary
associate's
bakery.
in baking, would you let somebody else bake a cake?
If I had one of those, I'd be no, I got this. I'd be all over
and
that
they were
baking.
great. They were really good.
It's like somebody graduating from auto mechanic school, and you bring them a rundown car and say, "Here, this is yours. Fix it."
Well, to
cool.
be
It
fair,
depends on the car.
she's the only one that's in town.
You bring me a Spider Corvair, I'd be all over that.
This is one of the cakes she
That's a
made.
neat cake.
She wasn't as pleased with it as
That's cool.
I thought it turned out great.
It looks like a GameCube.
It's kind of there's kind of
I take it back. It doesn't look anything like a GameCube.
she was there's two different ones, purple and blue,
The purple one looks like a GameCube.
One
at
of
least
it's-
from that angle.
one of it's
It's
coffee.
much more round than I thought.
and passion fruit, and the other is not chocolate and passion fruit, sorry, and then chocolate and coffee were the two flavors, and like 3 layered cakes and fancier stuff than any of us could make
Oh,
probably.
absolutely. I could do that. No, it looks gorgeous.
She did a great job with the cake.
It's not 2 flavors or 3 4 flavors. There's enough flavors that I like.
The chocolate and coffee was really good together.
But you're a fan of coffee.
I'm a fan of coffee.
Sure you
and so
thought
is my
so.
dad, and so is my stepmom. So, yeah, and then we boarded a plane and returned via Chicago and stayed in the airport for several hours that time.
How long were you in the layover?
We landed wibbly wobbly. Flight took off at 11. We landed at 11:45. Even though it's an hour and 20-minute flight.
Longer than an hour flight.
And then our flight took off again at 2:25. So quite the layover.
About 4.5 hours.
Didn't seem that long. We wandered around because Midway is a decent sized airport, so we were able to wander around. We went through all the concourses and stopped at all the shops looking for souvenirs and whatnot, and then got some rather disappointing Mexican food. And
Hey, what'd you bring me?
sorry, we didn't see anything. The problem with this trip was, like most others,
You go on vacation, you bring me things. That's how this works. I bring you guys things when I go on vacation.
Well, I brought you guys things from
I wasn't asking
Walt
you, was
Disney
I?
World.
I was asking Mr. I went to Chicago and Arlington.
the problem is it wasn't as much a vacation as a graduation
We
trip.
didn't even get a slice of cake. You believe that?
Sounds like we wouldn't like it anyway.
That's the offer could have been made.
We didn't get any sent cake. I didn't get no
Relax,
cake.
Keith, I'm teasing.
No cake was sent back. I was thinking
He's
about
scrambling for excuses now.
Well, I was thinking about that. And I was thinking, well, maybe I should bring some souvenirs back for the guys and my mom who didn't get to go up and my cousin who didn't get to go up. The problem is
You walked around Midway
that was
for
it.
4 hours.
But
You could have brought us something and said, "Hey, this was from."
an airport we visited.
No, you didn't even have to tell us that.
But I say
I'm
it's
sure
a
they have
layover.
Washington magnets in Chicago.
I didn't see any actually. We were barely in the Washington airports long
I'm
enough,
teasing
and
too,
it's
I don't ever expect
It's-
anybody to bring me anything back.
it's one of those trips where
I do. I want gifts constantly.
if we
just
were
for the
in
record.
if when we go back and actually so I can go show Sarah DC, we'll bring stuff back because okay, we were at DC. This is mementos of stuff we went and did.
Yeah, I don't want things from DC though.
Why not? I got a Pentagon shot glass from my dad when he went, and that's pretty cool.
A Pentagon shot glass. They should not be drinking alcohol.
Is it pentagon shaped?
No.
Oh, major fail! Wow.
Big old. That would have been
Seriously.
sweet.
It's square.
I mean, they can make this one square. Why can't they make one pentagon?
Yeah, no lie.
Pentagonal.
Pentagonal. Metropolitan. It's like that ice cream.
I still don't know where you're going with it.
You get it said when all these cities bleed together, it becomes one big metropolis, and that ties in with
The
Superman.
metropolis is an actual city. A metropolitan area is a metropolitan area.
Somebody please write in and explain that.
But this is how whirlwind of a trip it was. We landed at 3:45, got to the car by 4:45, was back in Topeka, and went straight to Famous Dave's for Father's Day dinner with Sarah's family. Then stopped by my mom's to drop off some things. Megan sit back with us, and then didn't get home until 9 o'clock.
Needless to say, Keith's tired.
I'm very tired, and my feet still hurt from yesterday. Because, of course, we dressed nicely for the graduation,
Fail.
and then we didn't get to change until we got home at night, so I was walking around all day in wingtip shoes. Not the most comfortable shoes.
I've decided I'm getting rid of all of my dress shoes. I'm going to wear sneakers with everything. That's my plan from this point on. Anybody looks at me weird, it's like, lump it.
I don't have any dress shoes, so
Any at all?
none.
Wow.
The last pair blew out, and I thought, you know what? Unless it's a funeral, I'm wearing Chucks.
If it's a funeral, there's nobody there that's going to expect any different of me. Certainly not the deceased.
All right, well,
That's
now
it.
I'm depressed.
That was-
Why do we
that
have to
was
bring up
Keith's-
funerals, Glenn?
that was Keith's trip.
God.
Graduation.
Yay!
Yay, cake.
Cake! Not that I got any.
Oh, he's depressed again.
No, he started the story with, well, we went to here with this layover in Chicago and this graduation, and I was
That's
like,
because I was going back to Chicago for the 4-hour layover later.
right, but I just, my because I was confused, because you only have the one sister, right?
Yeah, I only have the
See,
one
at one
sister.
point in time in the story, I began to think maybe I was confused and there were two
Nope,
sisters,
one
one in
sister.
Chicago and one in Maryland, but okay.
We just had the layover.
And isn't Chicago traditionally the baking, that's where you
You
go for
lived
culinary
with this
arts?
guy
There's
for
some.
more than a
I
year,
know.
and you thought he had two sisters?
Julian pops out another sibling every other week. It's not unusual.
I don't think you can pop out your own sibling.
Well, no, it's just all of a sudden we're talking about it.
And
He
choose
says,
the offspring.
well, he says, "Oh, it's my sister," and we're like, "How many
Which
are
one?
you?" Because he literally has like 8 siblings. I think I've met 3, maybe 4. I
And,
don't know. I've
and
lost
to be
track.
fair,
Live with Julian.
the entire time we lived
And he has
together,
8.
you probably met Megan like once.
Yeah, in the
You probably
hospital.
met Megan like 3 times total in our entire friendship.
Well, yeah. I think so. I think you're right. I think
A
it's
couple of
3.
times when she
I've
came
met her
in.
once. One time.
One time, and you
One
remember.
time, and I remember you only have one sister.
You didn't have a stroke though.
Well, that's true. That we know of.
Hey, Glenn, stagecoach.
Much just Alzheimer's.
Early onset.
All right. Well, let's.
I'm
move
glad
on
you
to-
had a good trip. And
Yes, it was a good trip, exhausting and fun, and I'm glad I have tomorrow off.
That was
We
good
could go
forward
disc golf
thinking there.
tomorrow.
Yes,
No, I can't go disc golfing tomorrow.
we're going to
You're
see
working, aren't you?
Man of Golf, Man of Steel tomorrow.
That's going to be a boring movie. Man of Golf.
Man, that's a different Kevin
Matt
Costner
Damon's
film.
in that one, isn't he?
Yeah. Let's move on to feedback.
No, how about some news first?
Oh, let's do news. Yeah, boy, I'm really trying to rush this show along. I'm sorry, I've been some pain over here.
You want to switch?
No,
chairs?
but I may take you up on the whatever you offered me, painkillers you offered me earlier.
I have.
We could all do the show standing in
Tylenol.
sympathy.
Lord Tab.
I might have something from when I got my wisdom teeth removed. Might not want to drive afterwards, though.
What is it?
Hydrocodone?
Hydrocodone.
Oh, see, I'm allergic to hydrocodone.
I can't remember.
I don't know if I'm
what I had.
allergic or not, but I certainly had a bad reaction to it. It didn't agree with me.
You just argued with it all day.
I did. It made me cranky, among other things.
Made you very.
I was disagreeable. This section of Traveling the Vortex is brought to you by pharmaceuticals. What are these? They look like Skittles.
What size are? I mean, what
Milligram?
dosage are they?
They're 500 milligrams.
Those are fun
they're
pills. Look
500?
at them.
Yeah.
Well, I'll take 2.
Equate
They're little green and red, and they got
blue and red.
Oh, they're fun.
Are
my
they blue?
kids, my kids would love these. They were candy.
They're America pills.
No, Superman pills.
Silver.
Oh, so wait a minute. You can make a Superman drug reference, but I can't make a Metropolis reference.
Did you go to Metropolis to get these? See, now that's how you use Metropolis, not when you're talking about major cities.
But you started
all
off
together
with a
into one.
Metropolitan.
No.
Yes.
You did kind of draw out trying to come up with a...
Metropolitan
See, you did it
does
again.
not sound anything like Metropolis.
It
Okay,
was like
there's a little bit.
It was like a 2
It's
second.
not exactly.
It was a 2-second window. for
Touchdown
Sean.
Miami. Thank you.
So I went Metropolitan.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're recording this. Back it up. What's in the news this week, Keith?
I don't know. I was on holiday.
Glenn, what's in the news this week?
Couldn't start. I'm getting water to take my medicine.
Okay. Well,
Daphne Ashbrook's doing something.
Daphne Ashbrook is doing something.
Friend of the show, Daphne Ashbrook.
Friend of the show. And Ken. And Vito.
Yeah, I saw Ken was taking part of something too.
Something very
Same
cool.
thing. And
So
it's called
I'm
Regenerate.
confused. Is this a Saturday or Sunday? Because when I first saw it, it was
23rd,
Sunday.
I believe.
But then the event I got invited to said Saturday. The 23rd is a Sunday, but the Facebook event said Saturday.
Well, that I don't know.
Maybe we're going to watch it twice. Anyways, go ahead. Continue. What are they doing, Sean?
Well, it's called Regenerate.
Emphasis on the 8.
Regenerate.
Yeah.
Eight.
Regenerate.
The great Doctor Who movie rewatch.
Haven't we done this twice already?
I think it's a little pompous of a title myself.
It's very similar to what we do, except for you can go sign up at Daphne Ashbrook's website, and if you do, then everybody's going to kind of sync their DVD copies of the movie up, and everybody will hit play at the same time, and you'll be able to comment along with Daphne. I think you must get into some sort of rotation in a chat room, but
Yeah, there's a chat room.
but Daphne's on there all the time, and she'll be talking about the movie as we watch and things like that, and then you'll be able to ask questions or make comments as well if you're watching along with us.
So she's hijacking and modifying Friday Night Who.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is. It's kind of a Friday Night Who.
And the venue is going to be Google Hangouts, right?
Yes, that's how you get joined into the festivities.
And here's the cool thing. Well, the part of it that I think is cool. I mean, any excuse to get people together and watch Doctor Who the movie, thumbs up in my book. If you take a picture of yourself watching Doctor Who the movie on this date and email it to her, she will send you a photograph that you can then slide into the DVD slipcover and have a commemorative something or another. I don't know what the photo is. I don't know if she's autographed it. I have no information on it other than you get a special gift from Daphne.
Daphne for participating and basically showing proof.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, guess what we're going to be doing on that day?
I better go get a copy.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we just all get together and...
Because then we only get one photo, Glenn.
Oh.
we each need one
we just
for
take
our
3
disc.
photos.
I'm not going to share my collectible Daphne Ashbrook with you. Come on.
So we're not watching together.
No, I'll watch it with you guys.
Oh, not now.
I suppose
I don't know if
maybe
I'm
we
doing
could
that Sunday yet, so...
Maybe we could work out a rotation for the photo. We could stay, so long at somebody's house.
I have custody this week. I have custody next week.
So yes, if you
that's cool.
if you haven't gotten a copy of Doctor Who the movie yet,
Did you see? Is it? It is. No, it is.
Is the
it's
dates
very cool.
symbolic of anything, or did they just choose the 23rd because November 23rd?
I have no idea.
It might be. It might be.
I didn't know if it was symbolic for the movie at all.
No, because the movie came out in May, I believe, wasn't it? Yeah, originally.
And it's set during New Year's.
Because it was during sweeps.
Oh, this is the 23rd anniversary, isn't it?
Is it?
No, it's not that old. 96.
Yeah, it's not quite. Yeah, you're right.
It's 18? 17. That was
18.
That's math. I'm not up to that point now.
Because it just celebrated the 15th anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 15th was last year, so it's 16th.
2 years ago was 15th, wasn't it? It was two...
right, it was two galleys.
Two galleys
It was 15.
ago, so,
okay,
yeah.
so 16, 17.
I was thinking it was the 20th. That's why I added 3 years there. So. Anyway, so that'll be a lot of fun. So be sure to go to, and we'll have a link in the show notes to Daphne's page, and where you can go and sign up and get that information. So.
Absolutely. What else is in the news? What else did I miss?
Well, you missed.
Well, I was on my whirlwind holiday.
Maybe.
Sean posted this on the Traveling Vortex site. That's what keyed me into it. I reposted it. That's why.
You posted it on the Traveling the Vortex site?
No, not on the site. On the Facebook page.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You put it on the site.
I did?
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Maybe we should put it on the site.
I was going to say, the last thing I saw on the site was the site trip.
I got it from Bleeding Cool News that maybe...
That's who broke it.
Maybe.
Can
we
they
have
fix
a,
it?
a Doctor Who surprise in November. And not the anniversary special, not the Adventure in Time and Space,
Oh, no.
but the idea that there may be more Doctor Who episodes coming, like Lost Ones. Like, supposedly.
Like they've been found?
So, according to this, the quote, what I've been hearing, some of it is attributed to an eccentric engineer who worked for broadcasters across Africa who had a taste for science fiction and a habit of taking things for safekeeping, is that the BBC have secured a large number of presumed wiped episodes of early Doctor Who. Lots. Lots and lots. Completed serials that we've only had incomplete before. Full serials that nothing existed of. Not everything, but heaps and heaps. Possibly even the full Hartnell. Now, no, we have no confirmation on this or anything yet, but it's been reported by more than one site.
Well, let's put it this way. Doctor Who Online, which is one of the biggest Doctor Who fan websites in the world, is basically substantiating this rumor. They go into a brief description of how they're very hesitant to post rumors, because several years ago when there was rumor that the Web of Fear might have been found, and they felt pretty solid that they had good evidence on that, they posted it, and we still haven't seen that come to fruition. But they did say on their website that they've been approached by several high-profile sources, and they have a lot of connections over at Doctor Who Online, that confirm the rumors, and some of what but that some of them do conflict with the actual figure of the numbers that are rumored to have been found. So.
Looks like TV shows on DVD even has an article about it. So.
Yeah, it's making
got some good
rounds.
traction.
It's got some good traction.
And it's not the Guardian type,
Yeah.
or
The Sun.
the Sun or those kind of places that's doing this. It's fan sites. Now, granted, fans have a lot more vested in this. That if
there was a whole nother fan site that was completely inaccurate about a lot of this too.
Who's that?
That Rogue Cyberman.
Besides Traveling the Vortex?
We don't want to talk about him.
Yeah.
He's not even a site. He's just a fringe lunatic. According to this, there's even a rumor that the DVD box set Regenerations, which is due out later this month, which has the preview animation clip from 10th Planet, is completely a bluff, and that if you purchase that, you will actually get the full-blown, because we have 10th Planet now, here's the full-blown thing. Now, I would very much take that with a grain of salt, because we're talking about the BBC, who couldn't keep sealed up that... what was the last thing that got, we're going to make this announcement early because it's been spoiled.
Oh, that Matt was leaving.
Matt was leaving. Yeah, we couldn't hide that.
Well, before that, they sent
DVDs
out to, before the last episode had even aired, to American customers.
So keep in mind who all this is in charge. Is in charge of all this, and that one might be a bit of a stretch. But
one of the things that I would absolutely love if this came to fruition and happened, but I hate seeing posts like this now because it gets me excited and worked up about it. I think, it gets my hope up. And then I want either the BBC to come out and confirm it or squash it. You know what I mean? I want it to be done because I don't want to sit here with this anticipation of, wow, is this really true? Is this really true? Is this really true? Oh, it was not really true.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So these kind of posts about these things bother me. Which...
I was crushed when I found out that we beamed them into space and now we found a way to get them back. Turned out not to. Because I'm sorry, to my brain, that sounds totally plausible.
Yeah. Well,
we're talking about Doctor Who.
There's a lot of things that get posted that I don't get excited about, even in a lot of the genre things that I like. I mean, the last thing I got excited about was the fact that Disney's going to make 3 more Star Wars films. So that was huge. But there's not a lot of things I get excited about. But missing episodes of Doctor Who... That was one of those things that catches me and goes, this, gets my hopes up, and I hope that this is true. But I also hope that if it's not true, I don't, jump off my roof or something.
I hope not, too.
I hope not, too.
You might break a leg.
Yeah.
The roof's not that high.
In the event of
you wouldn't hurt yourself too badly.
In the event of a worst case scenario with you jumping off your roof, I'm not wearing dress shoes to your funeral.
I would hope you wouldn't dress up at all. I want everybody to come casual to my funeral. I don't want anybody dressed up. I want music and
Can
a party.
Can I come as Batman?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's not very casual.
Absolutely. That's a little too formal.
That's a little formal.
I'll get my cape.
I don't want you to wear your work clothes, Sean.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so exciting news there, and we hope that turns out to be true.
This is another awesome Venture Brothers joke that you would totally be just appreciative and loving, and oh my god, it was so good.
Is it the one of them in the card that you told me about already? It's a different one?
That's a different one. It was the one that was on this week. It dealt with coffee, and you'd have been all over it, and I can't share it with you because you don't watch the show.
Because I don't watch the show.
It's very disappointing.
All right, now can we move on to feedback?
Yeah, let's do feedback.
Feedback.
Do you really want to do feedback?
Yes.
You sure?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. I want to read your email, yeah. Read out some feedback. Read out some feedback. That's all I got. I was going for that whole magic thing because of the smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, no, I know.
So I got to do Abracadabra, and so I pulled it up. And I love Abracadabra by Steve Miller Band. I don't like the Sugar Ray version so much, but I love the Steve Miller Band version.
Is there a Sugar Ray version?
There's a Sugar Ray version.
I will stay away from that.
It's not that it's bad. I mean, it sounds just like the original, which is kind of one of my problems. If you're going to remake a song, try and put a new spin on it as opposed to just remaking the song. But yeah, the first Abracadabra's a hard word to rhyme. Obviously, he's
reach out and grab you.
He's a much better songwriter than I am because he found a way to do it. But I couldn't come up with anything. It seemed really kind of flimsy after I thought about it. But then by that point I was sold on it, so I couldn't change it.
Well, after last week's epic one,
We got to give him a pass. Is that what you're saying? All right, you get a pass.
I showed up with
You get a pass.
I showed up.
You get a pass.
I didn't just say I didn't do it.
I'm just saying we can't expect the caliber of last week's every week.
You really liked...
I think he needs to set the bar up every time.
You really liked Johnny...
I thought
Johnny
that was
Cash,
a great
huh?
that was a great feedback song. First up in feedback, though, is Scott from Philly.
Hi, Scott from Philly.
He writes, "Hello, Kansas crew. Incredible season, no matter how you divide it. I think the trolls and haters were more mad than usual, feeling the 50th anniversary pressure, needing to jab their pointy, jabby sticks. The Cold War, jab. Silver Nemesis, jab." I think he means Nightmare in Silver. Just want to make sure you guys were clear on that. Rings of aka, 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 jab, 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 stab.
Yeah, they really didn't like that one.
But it seems the name of the doctor helped break that fever for the most part. Hopefully by next spring, once they rewatch the season during the long wait, they'll be more sane and less jabby. Matt Smith leaving.
Point, Scott. Very good point.
Matt Smith leaving. Whoa! I have over 40 years of fandom, and I know and accept the changes. But I wanted 4
Did
full...
you say that as wah, like he fell off a cliff?
I
think that's wah.
Oh, is that wah?
I think it's crying.
Oh.
Wah would be W-H-A-A-A-A, not W-A-H-H-H-H.
I thought he was wailing in agony.
Oh, it just made it sound like he fell off a cliff. or something.
Wah!
He must have died while carving it.
But I wanted
If he was dying, he wouldn't bother to type. Arg! Nobody's going to go there, just me. All right.
I wanted full 4 seasons of Matt to enjoy. When you examine his Doctor story arc, it's amazing. He hit the ground running, and he brought deeper and deeper emotion to the part. We see his Doctor age, mature, but keep a light touch all along. He'll probably be known as the American Doctor for all the popularity he brought. More on Matt another time, but now for the always popular, who do you want to see as the Doctor?
Don't listen, Chrissy.
Stephen Fry. I can see him as more a classic. I can see him more as a classic than modern Doctor. He might come off as too intellectual. Yeah, the American audience wouldn't like that at all. He wouldn't surprise you.
It's a good point.
Too cerebral.
That was my input, not Scott's. He wouldn't surprise you with his intelligence. You'd expect it. Richard E. Grant, kind of genius. But it even allows for how he was underused as the great intelligence, and works as an influence that leads to the Valiard. My pick is pure fantasy. Will never happen, but just think about it. Introducing the Doctor, David Bowie.
Ooh.
It writes itself.
I haven't seen that one bantered out there yet.
He dresses in some stories as the Thin White Duke, or like in the Modern Love video. In others, like Ziggy Stardust, or whatever he was wearing in the Blue Jean video. Pointy curly shoes and all. One companion, Iman.
No.
Oh, Elman?
No. You said it right.
Oh,
I
no.
don't want to see that as a companion.
It's Iman.
It is Iman, but
It is Iman.
I don't
Okay.
want to see her as a...
Iman was the shape-shifting changeling, the cameloid in Star Trek VI.
Oh, okay.
She's like 9 feet tall, black, very striking features.
Oh, okay. The other, while the TARDIS...
She's not 9 feet tall.
She's gargantuan.
She's not 9 feet
She's like
tall.
Grace Jones on
She's
steroids.
almost as tall as Bowie, who was probably nearing 6'5".
I don't know. She's huge.
She's not 9 feet tall.
The other, while the TARDIS is traveling the vortex, a person crashes onto it. He's an astronaut who's been drifting in space, wondering if he'll ever return home. It's Major Tom! Perfection! The only thing missing from this is Jareth.
Yeah, now if you can work Jareth into this.
The Goblin Key.
And,
Because that's where Mel went. As soon as I was hey, you should be David Bowie, that actually works. And she goes, will he dress like Jareth?
I have this idea for another time I'll save, but I have the idea but need work putting it in words. Until then, I hope everyone has enjoyed the summer. Take care.
David Bowie as the Doctor.
I like it.
I like it.
I could do that. That would be fine.
If nothing else...
If Stephen Fry's not available, then David Bowie.
If nothing else, I want a Red Nose Day or Children in Need special with David Bowie as the Doctor in the space between we actually get 11 and 12. There's going to be time, so let's do it.
We should just do a fanfic.
Yeah, but I bet the BBC could actually get David Bowie to come in and do it.
You doubt me? You don't think I could get David Bowie?
For a fanfic?
Yeah.
Or a fan pick?
Both.
You
it would
get
be
David
a fanfic
Bowie
that I
and
would
we'll
film. Therefore, it's both.
You get David Bowie and we'll get it down.
Yeah. Well, he's the leader of the Guild of Calamitous Intent. I'm sure he doesn't have anything else going on right now.
I wonder if evil David Bowie's busy.
See, there's another Venture Brothers joke, and you completely missed it. You
I want the
show.
Dr. Horrible. Evil David Bowie?
Evil David Bowie?
Yeah, it's part of the evil
Yes,
evil.
I know, he's the evil evil. Like I haven't seen Dr. Horrible. Come
It's
on.
a subtle reference that most people wouldn't
I
get.
got it. And I thought, wow, they stole that from Venture Brothers.
Who's next?
Alex is next. Alex writes, too tired to think of a clever subject line. Wow, that was kind of clever. No?
Almost too clever.
I have questions. Remind me after the thing. Hey guys, Alex here. Just finished listening to the Star Trek 102 side trip, and I thought I would send in a little feedback. Both the side trip and last week's episode were very enjoyable, though I'm afraid to say I haven't made much progress with watching more of Star Trek yet, as I've embarked on a quest to watch all of Classic Who before the 50th anniversary special airs.
That is an endeavor right there.
I'm currently in the middle of watching The Savages.
Does he physically have enough hours between now and then?
I
I don't
you
think so.
started in January.
Looking at the calendar, no.
So much for your schoolwork, Alex.
I mean, there's math involved in that computation too, but I'm pretty sure he does not have enough physical hours
Good
between now
luck
and.
with that, Alex. That is a monumental task.
It was almost a Metropolis task. He's cracking a smile. He was thinking about it, but not so much.
I'd laugh if it was funny.
But
it was a Herculean Superman-like effort.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, we'll go with that one.
Yeah, I'd take that one.
But he didn't say anything about New Who. So would it be a little bit more easier to watch all classic and not any new?
No.
I don't know.
Watching all of Classic Who, cutting out missing episodes.
Maybe it's all available.
Maybe. If he's watching everything that's on Netflix, he should be done. I got side-tripped. Keep us appraised on that, Alex. Let us know how that goes. I'm currently in the middle of watching The Savages, which admittedly means I still have quite a way to go. The Savages is like, what, episode 2 of Unearthly Child?
No.
It's not? Or is that an actual episode?
Is that an actual story?
I don't think it is.
The Savage. Oh, no, you're right.
I think it's...
It is.
Because that's back when I actually had...
it's the Cave of Skulls is the second
Cave of
episode.
Skulls.
Was it the third episode? Which one
No,
was the
it's
second?
not in that at all.
Oh, he's past that.
I thought The Savages was actually a story. It was a Doctor Who story.
It is,
Is it?
according to this.
Is it missing?
Yep, all 4 missing.
Well, how are you watching it?
He's probably watching
Reconstructions.
Oh, well, okay, that makes sense. Which season is it in?
Season 3.
Oh, is it?
Well,
Is it really that far along?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Next up is the War Machines. He's almost done with...
he's almost done with Hartnell.
Hartnell.
Well, it's funny that we're chiding him, and he goes on to address what our concern was.
Which admittedly means I still have quite a way to go. It's unlikely that I'll accomplish my goal in time for November. But I'm having fun trying. All right, so the odds makers here at Traveling the Vortex are now taking bets. If you'd like to send us money on whether or not Alex will complete the quest in time, we'll keep you appraised. And I don't know, what do you think, a $50 minimum bet to set things off? Yes, I'm going to make money off this kid.
Don't
Watch.
really send us money. Don't really send us money.
I'm not paying out on anything. I'm going to warn you in advance. You send all the money you want. But
Our
you're not gonna-
lawyers will not allow us to accept money on
We have lawyers?
a game of chance. No, but if they start sending money, we may need to
We
get some.
will.
What if I give
Good,
them...
that money can go towards it.
What if in exchange I email them a raffle ticket? Then it's legal, right? We'll give away something for keys.
Hey!
Come on, you've got a
By the way, I got
dozen Rory
Ghostlight.
minifigs over there.
That's true.
Keith's sister will bake you a TARDIS cake.
Ooh.
She probably would.
Service is rendered. I like it.
We'd have to in turn give her the money, but
And just to sweeten the pot a little bit, I'll include your name in my next short story. The next Doctor Who short story I write. You will be a character fighting Cyberman Bob. The return of Cyberman Bob. Where did we leave off?
I don't know.
Consequently, I haven't had much time for anything else, so Star Trek may have to go on the back burner for a while, although I did see The Trouble with Tribbles, and it was hilarious, especially the scene where Kirk opens the storage hatch and is literally buried by Tribbles. It's still at the top of my to-watch list, and I'm sure I'll get around to mainlining the original series eventually. Anyway, there was something from last week's feedback section that I wanted to reply to. Brenda, I'm over the moon that you're getting the opportunity to go to the Harry Potter studio tours. I visited the studios a couple of months ago, and I have to say it was one of the coolest days I've ever had. Aside from all the really interesting design stuff, like the scale models of all the creatures and the multitude of props and costumes they keep on display, there are just so many squee-worthy moments to be had across the whole tour. From the moment you step inside through the doors of the Great Hall, because, yes, that happens, and it's awesome, you're just immersed in the magic and the wonder of the series. Word of warning, though, if you come across the stall where they sell butterbeer, buy with caution. It's one of those deceptively sweet things that starts out tasting delicious, but very quickly makes you feel unexpectedly ill if you do anything idiotic, like try to down 3 glasses in quick succession. Not that I would ever do anything so ridiculous.
so it's a drinking drink. It's not a chugging drink.
Yeah.
In other words,
It's a sipper.
And I'm sure it's nothing like what they have at Universal Studios in Florida, but
I'm sure
we
it's
had it. We had it there, and it's
is butterbeer actually
It's-
alcoholic?
no, not at all.
No. Okay.
It's
Well, not at Universal Studios.
Yeah,
It
and
might
it's-
be in London.
It's the same. No, it's butterbeer's like
They can drink younger in London.
butterbeer is like
London,
root
it's bottled
beer
by
or
Guinness.
ginger ale. It's just a play on
Oh, is it?
beer. It's not.
I never quite.
It's not actual beer.
I never quite got it in Harry Potter if it was or not.
Doesn't Willy Wonka mention butterbeer at one point? When he's giving that long list of carbonated drinks, double bubble cola and blah, blah. Isn't butterbeer one of them? Or am I making that up?
I don't
think
remember
so.
that.
Okay. So I have this image in my head of Gene Wilder saying that, but maybe not. Not that I would ever do anything so ridiculous. ... That to me says that there was a story there. But anyway, have a fantastic time because it is a spectacular place. One other thing that I wanted to talk about was my silence theory that I mentioned last week. This is just a little something that I was thinking about in the aftermath of The Name of the Doctor. I've seen a couple of other people from various corners of the web come to the same conclusion, and I was wondering what you guys thought. Has Name revealed to us that the Silents are, in fact, good guys? Their entire organization is built around the idea of silence falling when the question is asked. The question, Doctor Who, of course, opens the Doctor's tomb when answered. So why have the Silents developed an entire religious order just to make sure the Doctor's tomb is never opened? Quite simply, it's to stop the schemes of the Great Intelligence. Whilst they may be presented as villains in the series, to be fair, they are trying to kill the Doctor. The Silence exists solely to prevent the rampant destruction and chaos that would result from the Great Intelligence messing about with the Doctor's timeline. Their attempts on the Doctor's life are actually meant to be mercy killings. Better for him to die than for his entire timeline be burned apart from the inside out. Although they weren't exactly pleasant or benign in the way they went about their mission, I think that ultimately the Silents were just trying to do what was best for the universe. Kill the Doctor before an even worse fate could befall him. One which would wipe out all of his past triumphs and heroics. If this is the case, I think it sheds new light on their actions throughout the series. It also works as a very interesting social commentary on religion, and how the passing of time and generations can alter the perceptions and attitudes of a religion so that it eventually becomes unrecognizable from its original form. Wow, that went kind of heavy there.
I think we didn't talk about this, but I certainly think I kind of drew that conclusion anyway when I watched it. That the Silents are kind of the anti-villain. That they're the protagonists through the entire 11th Doctor run, essentially. But ultimately, what they thought they were doing was better than the alternative, and so in a way, yes, they turn out to be I mean, everybody's a hero in their own mind. So,
Some of us are legendary.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think ultimately, I think I kind of came down on the same side. I didn't present that side of it, but
I'm totally going to keep all of my theories silent from now on, so that whenever it comes up,
I certainly completely agree with Alex.
Years down the road, I can say, I really thought that at the time. I just didn't say it.
All right, go on.
I think there's a lot of weight to this. I hope they kind of do something to address it on camera. They won't. But
have you not learned anything by now?
I would just like to see.
The TARDIS exploded, and they never explained it. And Alex tries to explain it to you guys, and you don't buy it. And actually, you did.
I bought it,
but
I don't buy it.
Yeah, and then he gives you this real weighty answer.
I've seen this,
and then
elsewhere too. And I like the idea.
I like the idea, but I don't know if it's. I'd have to see it on.
No, it's.
Alex,
it's a great...
as far as I'm concerned, you're more in touch with this series than anybody around this table. Bravo, my friend. And you keep bringing these theories to us because I love them.
It's a great way to retcon it in your mind. And if I don't get an answer, this is the reason this is the explanation I'm going to go with.
It's not a retcon. It's so obvious.
Well, I don't think it's obvious because I think if this was... Not that I don't believe him, because I think it's a fantastic theory. If this was actually going on...
If this was the plan the entire time...
Well, and not just that, but this is something else that everybody's talking about. When are the Silents coming back? I don't think they are.
Not.
I think they're done. Because
not.
Wouldn't they have been at Trinzalore for this moment?
No.
Why not?
They've been trying to stop it early on in the time stream, and it just didn't work. So they didn't need... I mean, yeah. You expected him to show up one last time to try to thwart the opening of the tomb?
What if the Silence
ends up killing the Doctor, and that's why he's tuned on Trinzalore?
What if the Silence were instrumental in hooking him up with Clara? Because they realized that they couldn't stop the tomb from being opened, but if they get Clara involved and she fixes whatever the Great Intelligence does, then they're still heroes.
Great theory.
I'll believe that when I see it on television. Seems to be the go-to answer here.
Okay, I'm done for now.
Theorizing.
I hope all of that made sense grammatically and logically. Because it's past midnight on this side of the pond and I'm completely shattered, apologize for... Well, he had too many butterbeers. Apologize for any mistakes, badly worded sentences, typos, or streams of utter gibberish that might have resulted from my overwhelming sleepiness. I'm off to bed, so say goodbye and happy travelings, Alex.
Happy travelings.
Happy traveling.
Happy travelings to you until
all right,
you
who's
ride
up next?
Again. This is a better feedback song than the one I came up with.
Up next is Chrissy.
Chrissy writes, Dear, for some people, small, beautiful events is what life is all about. Dear Vortex Boys, a quick word on Rachel Mead writing...
Rochelle.
Rochelle Mead writing a story for the Sixth Doctor. I was actually very excited about this news because Rochelle Mead is someone I actually recognize. Plus, it's cool to get a female author writing one of these stories. Her Vampire Academy and Bloodline series are very popular with kids at the library. I haven't read them myself. I'm not a fan of vampire stories. But the kids seem to like them, so it's nice to get an author that I know get to have a Doctor Who connection. Anyway, it's the 5th Doctor month at Traveling the Vortex, and I have plenty to say. And I'll have plenty of say to next week for your retrospective as well. We aren't doing that this week?
No.
Oh, okay.
Next week.
Not a look at the era.
This
good.
This week's all 5th Doctor stuff, but not
That's
the actual
right. That's what I was
retrospective.
thinking. All right. So here are my thoughts on the stories you're previewing this episode. Prisoners of Time number 5. I really like the story in this comic, even if the art was a little lacking, but there are some things I am more than willing to forgive as long as the story's good. I like that this installment starts out with the villain, who we still don't really know at least I don't, referring to the conquests he's had in the past 4 issues. It's good to get some of the continuity for the rest of the series. Then things turn over to the adventure with the Doctor, Tegan, Nyssa, and Adric. And for the story... and this story is perfect for the 5th Doctor. One thing that I love about 5 is how he tries so hard to get people to get along and be reasonable and peaceful, but it almost never works out the way that he intends. So what better conflict to drop Dear 5e into than the endless ongoing war between the Sontarans and the Routons? He tries to convince the Sontarans to send for help, but they won't do it because it's dishonorable to question orders or look weak. And it's a really nice character contrast for the Fifth Doctor because he's so caring and reasonable that he gets brought out more against the backdrop. The story of the frog and the scorpion and its line about it's your nature, Doctor, just adds to the poignancy of the character study. Even though the story has these companions from Five's first season, this story is very much in the tone of the last season, where there was so much danger and death in spite of the Doctor's best efforts. I think this one is the best installment of Prisoners of Time we've had so far. Smoke and Mirrors. One thing that happened a lot in the Fifth Doctor's era is that there were so many companions that the writers often had to have one get captured or taken out of the story in some way. But this story is interesting in that it's the Doctor that gets taken prisoner. In this case, locked in a box and dropped in the ocean. And the companions have to fight the bad guys. Also, no matter how many times Nyssa and Adric show that they're smarter than Tegan as far as science and math go, they don't know about things like tigers and carnivals and Harry Houdini, so it's kind of a switch to have Tegan know things that Nyssa and Adric don't. At least, as long as they're in Earth's history, she'll know more than they do. This was a pretty good story, not the best, but enjoyable anyway. The Fifth Doctor Revisited. I was a little worried about this Revisited special, since the ones for 3 and 4 were a little lacking, but 5's Revisited special turned out really good. It helps, I guess, when you actually talk about all the companions and you get to interview everyone who's still around. Won't lie, I was surprised that Matthew Waterhouse came in for this one. Even Nicola O'Brien got to talk about the Fifth Doctor, which I thought was really nice considering they won't talk about Perry until the Sixth Doctor special. I was also glad that they gave Nyssa a good selection of time because she's the one that often gets overlooked. In the section about Tegan, they talked about how she was always bugging the Doctor about getting home, and I laughed at one comment that the guy made about thinking, why would you trade traveling in the TARDIS for getting back to work? Adric got a big chunk of time in the special, which is expected since they're showing Earthshock afterwards, but I was glad that they spend time on Turlough because he's really fun and one of my favorites. I'm not as fun as Adric as I sometimes feel I should be. And the section on the villains was pretty good, even though they only talked about 2, but the Fifth Doctor has the same issue that the Fourth Doctor has, that there were a lot of one-off villains, and it's hard to narrow it down to which ones to talk about. Obviously, you talk about the Cybermen, since you're showing Earthshock, and obviously you talk about the Master, since he's probably the most reoccurring villain for 5. Everyone had really good things to say about the Fifth Doctor, which made me happy, since I agree with all of them. All in all, I thought the whole thing was a really good assessment of the Fifth Doctor's era, and does a good job of putting this time into context for Classic Who newbies. Also, Stephen Moffat's comment about Doctor Who actually pulling off a surprise with Earthshock and how that never happens these days was pretty funny. It's nice to see him have fun with these specials. That's it from me. Hope everyone out there had a nice Father's Day. Until next time, Chrissy.
Thank you, Chrissy.
Thanks, Chrissy. We'll share our thoughts on all of those things shortly. But first, Holly. She says, number 129, Fifth Doctor Smoke and Mirrors. Hey guys, loved your last podcast. The feedback jingle was fantastic. Brenda, I hope you have a fantastic trip to London and Cardiff, and looking forward to seeing the pictures. Speaking of Classic Who and some of the DVDs going out of print, I do know that iTunes does have a selection of the classic stories. They're not too badly priced. Planet of Fire is in there along with Ghostlight. I just wanted to toss that out there as another option. I know the only downside is you don't get any bonus material that you would get from the DVD. On to the review.
But they are cheaper.
They are cheaper.
Yeah.
So in a pinch, you could get them on iTunes.
The whole story for $5, I think.
And that will let you know if you're not a completionist. Let you know if you really want the DVD on your shelf.
That's true. That's a good point.
Why haven't I been doing this?
I don't know. Why haven't you? You don't like iTunes?
You don't like iTunes.
Oh, yeah. But for that price, I mean, for what it cost me to pick up, some of the Pertwee 7-parters, I'd had the whole series at this point.
Well, there's not a lot of Pertwee on there. I can't remember what else on there, but yeah, there's not. There's not a whole lot.
And without
of
an
these
Apple
stories,
TV, it's hard to stream to your TV.
Yeah, that's true. Well, on it,
that's next on my Christmas list.
you can stream to the Xbox, though, can't you?
With an Apple?
Not from an Apple.
Oh, not from a Mac. You can't from a Mac.
No. Mac and Xbox are like,
See, if with my PC, I could stream to my PlayStation.
Well, my PC streamed to my
Of course, Microsoft to Microsoft
well,
there.
True, it is Microsoft.
That's not surprising.
That would be why. Yeah, but it's an AAC file though. It's a proprietary.
It doesn't matter.
Apple file.
Yeah, Mac and.
But I remember I did have to download a codec on the Xbox.
Yeah.
Anyway.
She continues with, "This was quite the interesting audio. We get to find out how the Doctor met Houdini and some of his backstory. But I was rather surprised that we got an appearance of the Master in this audio story. I know he and Five had a few face-offs before, but to be honest, I was actually expecting the Master to show up in the third Doctor audio. Not that I'm complaining that he showed up here. I was wondering when this audio line started if the Master was going to be making an appearance at all. I loved how 11 popped up and started ribbing 5, along with not trying to tell him too much and who was behind what was going on. It was nice to have a story with Nyssa, Tegan, and Adric. We even get a mention of Joe in passing. You feel kind of sorry for Houdini and him being swayed by the Master. I'll wrap this up here, looking forward to hearing everyone's thoughts on this episode. Holly from Wisconsin."
Thank you, Holly. Well, where would you gents like to start?
Well,
we have the Revisited special, we have the comic book, and we have Smoke and Mirrors.
Well, let's do Revisited last, certainly.
We'll do Revisited last.
Well, let's start with Smoke and Mirrors.
Let's start with Smoke and Mirrors.
Okay.
The Doctor answers a psionic distress call being sent from England in the 1920s. There, in the environs of a fairground, he is reunited with an old friend, Harry Houdini. To Adric and Nyssa, the name means very little, but to the Doctor's companion Tegan, he is a legend. Escape artist extraordinaire, Houdini's reputation will last for decades.
That's it?
That's the short Wikipedia version.
Huh. Dun, dun, dun!
You liked Smoke and Mirrors?
I like Smoke and Mirrors. You didn't?
I didn't hate it, but it's probably just slightly better than the third Doctor one, I think.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
I thought they had the wrong companion reading this. I didn't really enjoy although I was glad she's able to do it, I didn't enjoy Janet Fielding's reading of it.
I was impressed when she dropped from between the narration and when she actually went into Tegan. I could tell the difference in her voice, which I was impressed by.
Yeah, slightly, but not as much. That was my problem. And I didn't think she had the Doctor nailed down as well.
I thought she had Adric pretty good, though.
Adric was okay.
I could hear Adric
and
when
I thought she had Nyssa okay. I wasn't very impressed with this story either, because it seems like we bring Harry Houdini in, who's this famous historic character, and then he's very underused. He really just becomes sort of a mesmerized henchman in the whole scheme of everything. And so I didn't like that so much. We get a lot of interesting comments about the adventures they've had in the past, or they've met Houdini in the past. But unfortunately, it's a lot of stuff that's just kind of made up and thrown in there, because there are no adventures in the past, with the exception of one novel that talks about Harry Houdini. But it was nice for the name.
Graphic novel.
It was nice for the name drops. Well, that's what I'm talking about, is the graphic novel.
Oh, there's a 8th Doctor story, The Great Escape, that he was.
Oh, I forgot about it. Yeah, that's right.
You're talking about Houdini and the space cuckoosh.
Yeah, that's the one that I'm talking about. But yeah, briefly.
The space cuckoosh.
Yeah,
cuckoos.
Cuckoos. Like cuckoo bird.
Cuckoos.
Space cuckoos. Got it.
Yeah.
So the character's very
Not
underused. I do like the name drops with Joe and the third Doctor and back to Hartnell's era as well. But I liked what Chrissy pointed out, the fact that it kind of balances Tegan a little bit, because while you do have Adric and Nisa, who are always very smart and intellectual on certain things,
it gives her a bit more purpose.
It does
in the
give
story.
her more purpose to be in her element on Earth and being able to work it out. But then on the flip side of that, we've got this weird, like, master halfway coming back from the interdimensional prison that he's in.
Speaking of which, there seem to be more spoilers in this than there was in that other story we listened to.
I've given up.
For Traken? Yeah, there certainly was. And
you watched as I watched the revisited special, I went, gay.
the revisited special kind of gave up a lot of stuff as well.
It's a good thing you're not going to be allowed to watch the Sixth Doctor
one
Revisited until we finish Trial of a Time Lord.
So I like that the Master shows up in this, but that's another character that it's not really strong. It's not fleshed out well enough, because he's still somewhat disconnected from being able to be the powerful master that he really needs to be. He's in a weakened state because he's still, he's using this the orb. I can't remember what they called that to
the orb sphere.
Was it called the orb sphere? I couldn't remember for sure.
It was a plinth or whatever it was from Lord of the Rings.
And in order to
Ovid sphere, I'm sorry,
kind of have a somewhat quasi presence here as a ghost, and control things, and kind of set things in motion. But it just, I don't know, the story was just kind of dry. It was just kind of there. There wasn't a lot going on. The Doctor's taken out of the action, which was an interesting twist. It was an interesting look at putting the things into the companion's hands.
It was very much in line with Babelsphere when they pulled the Doctor out and he was captured, and Romana kind of had to.
That's true. That's very true.
Team up with the old ladies to rescue him.
But that was interesting. Running around a circus away from tigers and leopards, and then suddenly, zombified carnies was just
creepy.
It was too much of it. It was a little. This one certainly had more of a creep factor, I thought, to it. This one had more of a. I was on edge when the tiger was, trying to climb up and get Adric, and when they think that, Adric's run off and distracted the tiger, and so now Tegan and Nisa can escape, and then suddenly now there's a leopard, and then so that was there were a lot of those, like, ooh, what's going to happen next moments, but it wasn't enough to really grabbed me story-wise, because there wasn't a lot of story going on in this. So, like I say, it was an average story. It wasn't horrible. I didn't hate it, but it's far from being one of my favorites of these series so far. And plus, we just came off. That's another thing. We just came off of Babelsphere, which was really good, and so it set the bar very high, in my opinion, and that's probably why. If I could have given it more time in between, maybe I would have appreciated it more. But
I think the weak point for me on the story is the Master. I was all on board. Oh, they're at the fairground with Harry Houdini. Oh, Harry just knocked the Doctor out. What's going on? Oh. And then we get, it's just the Master up to his same old tricks again. Okay. And then I lost interest. And I knew everything was going to be okay.
It kind of was a typical Master story.
It was. It had so much potential if they didn't include the Master in it, I think. Yeah. And that's where it fell down for me. And there's a lot of great character moments in this entire thing between the Doctor and Harry, and then with all the companions. There's a lot of great stuff, but it's just it didn't live up to its potential.
Wow, the guy reading for Harry was horrible. He was so dry and one-dimensional, and I couldn't get into the character because the guy was terrible. He was not a very good actor.
Who would have made a really good Houdini? John Barrowman.
Sure, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He would have been really good. I think I liked this for all the reasons that you didn't, quite honestly.
You liked the Master?
I liked the fact that because I didn't know the Master was in it until I kept thinking, if you're going to do a fifth Doctor story, and he wasn't in the third Doctor story, you got to do a Master in the fifth Doctor, and then he showed up. But I like the fact that the normal template for a fifth Doctor Master story is that we stumble across it, the plot is already in motion, things are going, and then all of a sudden the Master's there, and you find out that he's the one behind all of this, and he's going to do X, which will cause Y, resulting in Z.
And that's what happens.
And that's what happens. Yeah. And at the last minute, we resolve that. This was very much not the typical Master story, because he wasn't there in full force, because he was still trapped in this whatever dimension and only could talk through mirrors, and kind of influencing people through mind control and whatnot. And it happened early enough in the plot that the Doctor's able to foil him before everything really gets rolling, which I thought was kind of an interesting twist on it. Normally, it goes right down to the wire before, aha, I figured the plot out and we're going to stop you.
See, and I guess that's...
And this time it was like, you're not even going to get out of the glass.
I guess that's part of why I had a problem with it. It was, as soon as I realized, oh, he's trapped in the mirror, easiest thing to get rid of him is break the mirror. And that's what they did. And then he did this orb thing to make sure he couldn't, to deactivate so he couldn't come
right
to use the same device
materialize
again.
Completely.
Yeah.
I don't know. That part of it, I think, just happened late enough that I liked the fact that Janet Fielding was reading it. I thought she did a good job with, better with some than others. I loved the idea that one of the things that I've complained about, specifically in audio with Fifth Doctor, is that we get so many historicals. But this one, for whatever reason, really seemed to work. That the fact that it, and of course, I have a thing for Houdini, so maybe that glossed over a lot of it. But I like the fact that Tegan rose to the challenge of that she's very much her normal, I don't want to be here, I thought we were going to do this, you can get us to a fair, but you can't get us back to Heath. Oh, wait, Houdini's here?
Here's the problem, Sean.
And then all of a sudden she's interested. I like that.
She rises to the challenge, but she still does nothing. The only thing that she does is the only smart thing that Tegan does is she recognizes that she can't break the mirror while Adric's being held by the Master, and so she breaks the light, which I thought was genius. I love that, because all the way up until that point I thought she was going to break that mirror, and I thought, what is that going to mean for? Does that break the spell, or is that
See, I just assumed it would break the spell.
Well, but then they kind of allude to the fact just before she does it that she doesn't know what it's going to do to Adric, and so that got me concerned. And then when she breaks the light, actually it's Adric concerned is what it's going to do. But but then when she breaks the light, that was very clever. But that's it. That's the extent of her heroics, because then
she saved them from the animals. At least by having the knowledge that this is what this is and this is not what this one is.
No, she just told them what they were.
They quickly would have figured out
Adric
what they were.
actually is the hero there initially the first time, because he distracts the tiger,
which was cool because we don't get many Adric heroic moments.
But then they have to run from the leopard, which they do. They just continue to run from the thing and get away, and then
they circle back.
It's just in the course of escaping from the leopard, then they're caught by the carnies. I mean,
but that's a Doctor Who thing, though.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. But I can't defend the Tegan character in this as being rising above anything, because while it was nice for her to be in her own element and the little rescue of Adric, beyond that, it's still, even though the Doctor's out of it for most of the time, it's still the Doctor that solves the mystery or fixes the problem, which it should be, because it is Doctor Who. It's not Tegan Jovanka.
I didn't think it changed. But she was very true to her character of what we've seen on screen the entire time. She just had a bit more knowledge of a few things.
Right. No, I'm not saying that. But if it had changed, then I wouldn't have liked it, because you changed her character fundamentally. But I like
how she had more to do in Enlightenment or Arc of Infinity than anything. I think that's kind of her shining moment as far as a companion.
Really?
Oh yeah.
But I thought everybody was given relatively equal screen time, if you will. I mean, Adric had something to do, Tegan had something to do. Nyssa was a little shortchanged because we as is also par for as is also par for the course is, okay, we're bringing in this guest star. We've got Houdini. One of you is going to have to not do much. So Nyssa kind of was the one that was elected in this case to do it. I thought the atmosphere was great. Running around the carnival and the carnies and all that was really cool. And I liked Houdini. Now, I didn't like his portrayal of Houdini, per se, because I agree with you. I think the guy was a little flat, and, he came across in some scenes as like he was going to go this direction with Houdini, and then never really got there.
I would agree with that.
But I think Houdini in particular, who's a fascinating guy, for all of the time that he spent escaping out of trunks and doing magic tricks and illusions, Houdini as a person very much disdained the occult. He didn't believe in it. He thought it was a load of bunk. and spent most of his life trying to disprove and
I really
the
like
frauds.
that involvement of the story, that how they brought that into it,
and bringing
Because
the
I knew a
doctor
lot
into
of
that.
Yeah.
That I really appreciate it, because it's not a ghost story. It's, yes, there is a scientific basis for all this stuff, and I can prove it and everything like that. But I can also see, and the reason for that is because he was very close to his mother, whom he lost at an early age. And so that constant quest to try and find somebody that maybe did have an in on it, but instead he keeps being disappointed by disproving everything along the line. I think the Master is the perfect foil to come in and say, oh, yeah, I can help you with that. I can prove that this is this and that is that. And all you have to do is blah, blah, blah.
I guess
can
I just
see
have
Houdini falling for that.
See, I guess I just have higher view of Houdini that he wouldn't fall for that. He hasn't fallen for any of these other things. Why would he fall for that?
And the other thing,
Because it was done through technology.
Well,
and that's why I think it worked.
The other thing that this story does is it establishes this, and it's almost to make an excuse for why Houdini does what he does, but it almost makes Houdini like he's jealous of the Doctor because the Doctor's so guarded with his secrets and so guarded with, what he won't tell Houdini. And Houdini almost comes across greedy as, you won't
tell me the future.
Yeah, you won't tell me the future. You won't show me your TARDIS. You won't, all these things which rightfully the Doctor didn't do. I mean, and you know why he doesn't. But he's portrayed in such a way that actually, when he puts him in the trunk and throws him in the thing, I thought I almost thought, well, I should have expected that. But I think the other thing that bothered me a little bit about this story, and I don't have a problem with the fact that the Master's in it, but we've done 4 stories now with original, unique villains with no ties to the past of Doctor Who. They've come up with these grand, great ideas, and then suddenly in 5 we decide we're going to throw the Master in there. I would have liked to have seen another original villain in this as well, and so that kind of tempered my excitement about it once I found out that the Master was
just from
villain.
the standpoint that we haven't had a Dalek or a Cyberman story or something like that, which
I mean, nobody better than the 5th Doctor to come up against the Master again, because he was most frequently in Davison's era. But
isn't he in Pertwee's more than Davison's?
No. Oh gosh,
Master?
No, there's more 5 Doctor story Master stories in there. Well, there's probably almost as many, but
probably the ratio. The ratio is probably higher.
Yeah, there's more in.
Are we talking story arcs or actual episodes?
Well,
because a lot of the Masters are 6-parters in Pertwee's era.
Well,
yeah,
I'm not talking about stories.
I don't know. I enjoyed the take on it, and I thought it was good. There were things that I still had problems with. I agree with you. I think, like I said, I think I liked the idea that Houdini, of all people, would be, well, how come you won't show me your magic box? Because he's constantly wanting to disprove this, even though he's been told, and he has enough experience with the Doctor to know that it's technology. Okay, but then why can't you show it to me? I kind of liked that greedy, envious, because I think that very much would fit in with his character, that he's so much on this quest to learn everything that he can about everything that he can. That's kind of the ultimate, come on, bring it on. Just for the same reason that 11th Doctor and his relationship with Churchill. Oh, come on, give me the TARDIS. I could I could reverse engineer that and we'd win this. And Matt Smith's just like, not today. I mean, I thought it worked.
At least it comes across, though, as there's still a lot of respect from Churchill, even though there's...
Well, and I blame that on the actor.
Yeah,
I think had his portrayal of Houdini done, I knew where I thought they were wanting to go with it because I know Houdini, but the portrayal didn't quite get there, so I can totally see that. But, it was an enjoyable story. I disagree with Chrissy. I don't think it was nearly as good as either Babelsphere or, what was the second Doctor one? But again, we established...
Shadows, wasn't it? Something of Shadows.
Shadows of Death? No. That's
we established that the enjoyment of the second Doctor really pretty much hinged completely on Fraser Hines.
Yeah.
From a story standpoint, I still think Babelsphere is probably the best of the bunch. But I would put this one, much higher than the third Doctor one. I really didn't like that one, but that's just me.
All right, well, let's move on to the comic book then. Prisoners of Time 5.
I think I may have to agree with Chrissy on this one. I think this is my favorite of the comics so far.
Really?
I think it captured Five's persona very well. We're getting to see the war between a battle between the
Rotons. There were a lot of geeky fanboy moments for me in this.
Yeah.
As far as
a little bit more exploration of who the real big bad is. Well, not much, but just you see more of him.
Yeah. I completely
although there were parts of it near the end where I'm like, really, Doctor? You're trying to save the Sontarans? I know you value life above all else, regardless of what life it is. But how many people have this troop alone slaughtered? Likely, I
was really hoping to get a Strax.
I thought that's where they were going. When the guy showed up, and I thought for sure we're going to get the story. When Strax says, "I'm serving penance for a former thing," and I was with the Doctor for, I thought this is it. We're going to get the Strax story, and then we didn't get the Strax story.
Do you notice they were kind of more old style Sontarans, anyways, in their drawing and animation?
Yeah, they were more classic Who, style.
That's what I meant.
I expected that.
Yeah.
Best thing about the story, Chrissy said that she thought the art was lackluster. It's the characterization of them is not realistic, but I really enjoyed the style. I appreciate the style of art. I think it looks really, really neat.
This unfinished dotted eyes.
Well, that's a far off.
But
it's more of the comic.
Well, that's just it.
Comic.
I'm not chastising it at all. It works here.
It does because of the style of art that it is.
And
unlike a watercolor picture of Picard,
with those draw eyebrows on him.
Draw the eyebrows.
No, I liked the art in this.
The artwork
it's
in it was
not
fantastic.
Well, and it fits very much
Here's
with that youthful Five too. With these little, This is how you draw Five. This is how you got to do it.
Story is right, and by the way, the Rutan is not what I expected it to look like, but they totally went off of the description or what it looks like in
Horror Fang
Rock, because they talk about it being a big giant green jellyfish. And so
it just wasn't very well realized in Horror Fang Rock.
Exactly. But I don't think that this is what I would have expected the Rutons to look like. Well, although I'm fine with this visualization, it's a little too anthropomorphized for me. But
there's no face.
But it's okay. Well, it's still a little too much unoriginal. But I was fine with that. My problem with this is it there's a reason why they've done this, but it's a story that doesn't go anywhere. There's no real story here. I
think that's the point I was trying to get with it.
There's events going on that the Doctor and his companions find themselves in the middle of, but there's no... The struggle is a struggle that is going to continue. There's nothing the Doctor can do. I do like the contrasting that is established with the Sontarans glad to go to their own death, and considering that a victory, and the Doctor's need to... save them or come up with an alternate solution than death. I do appreciate that about the story, but overall there's no story going on here. But because I think this is a middle part to the entire overarching story, I think that it was necessary to further to set up what's going to happen later, and this is where they decided to do it, by giving us more of a recap with the actual villain at the beginning. And then, having this kind of be the middle establishing point of what's happening here, and to catch us up and not leave us in the dark for too long, so that we get bored with the overall story arc.
I agree. It's funny because when I read it, it very much felt like we've got this big prologue at the beginning with the villain, and then the Doctor almost got short shrifted because there's just not a whole lot of story. Well, that big prologue is only 2 pages of the comic. But because of the way the story's structured, that we're going to land, which I loved this time to soak up some energy reference. I thought that was really cool.
Really nice.
But because of how the stories are structured, we're going to spend the first half over here at the Rutan camp, and then we're going to go over here to the Sontaran camp, which is, Genesis of the Doll. We've done that before repeatedly throughout history.
I like the idea that, at least when I was reading this, that the Sontarans actually are kind of the good guys. in comparison to the Rutons, just based off the dialogue in it. I thought that was a very cool exploration.
It gave him a very
Again, it's perspective, but yes.
yeah. Well, in this environment,
In this environment, the better of two evils is the
You're ready to root for
Santarans.
the Santarans.
yeah, that's just it, and which makes the end of their story a little more heartbreaking and tragic.
Which you kind of have to have.
I wasn't. When I first saw the aliens, and I kind of had a you moment. I was like, "Oh, they're just big jellyfish," and then it clicked, and I was like, "Oh, are these?" Flip the page. Read. Flip, read. There it is. They're Rutons.
Yeah.
Okay, and
When I saw the big green jellyfish, I first suspected, oh, this must be the Rutons.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
No.
I was with you. I saw
my
that
other problem
too.
with this
Really?
is I have
I just
had
thought they were jellyfish
I've had
at
the
first.
benefit of seeing Shakedown as well. You guys haven't seen that.
Yeah, that
And
might.
there's a Ruton realized in that as well. So
Is it an anthropomorphized jellyfish?
it's more of a
They were kind of shapeshifters, though, weren't they?
Yeah.
So
Did he look like Reuben, the lighthouse keeper?
no.
I liked the idea of them generating electricity. I thought that was a cool,
Yeah.
jellyfish thing. But with all of that, then when you get kind of through the story, and like you said, nothing really happens. I mean, it's all about the Santaran sacrifice and the fact that they're going to go be wiped out, and the idea that you made me feel for these guys through the Doctor's empathy, knowing that they're going to get wiped out. And then we get to the end, and the villain shows back up, and I was struck again with, wow, there really wasn't much story going on here. The Doctor kind of got, and it's like, no, he just, you needed to have this installment to kind of shape up where things are going, because we've gotten a little bit more of the villain in each one, and so it made sense. But any thoughts on who this guy actually is?
I have no idea.
Still
I
no?
have no idea.
I didn't. My theory last time that it was Adric who was coming and taking revenge on the Doctor, I think maybe shot now that he's kidnapped himself. Obviously, it could still be Adric further along in his own timeline, but which is
We
too
actually
bad because
see
I really.
the guy now too, so I mean, it rules out a lot of things.
Well, he's old enough that
and it doesn't quite.
because in one panel he looks like Captain Jack, in another panel he looks like William Hartnell. So
Yes, I agree.
And what he's wearing doesn't so much look like Cyberman outfit now, or Cyberman retrofitting.
I do like he's using something similar to a Vortex manipulator.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is very cool.
That was kind of neat.
and this vest that he's got on.
It looks kind of like a Robots of Death.
My new theory is that it's Marty McFly. He's confused. He
Sounds Coast Guard
he
shit.
heard Doctor and thought it was Doc Brown, and so
Does IDW have that licensing?
no, but they should totally go after. I would read Back to the Future comics all day, every day. I don't know. I enjoyed this one. I thought it was. I thought it was an enjoyable read. It's not. It's not as
I had
good
the
as
most
the
fun
second
reading
Doctor one
this
for
one.
me. Really, I still like the second Doctor one better.
I had a lot of fun reading it.
But it was better than the. It was better than the third Doctor one we got.
It indeed was, yeah. No,
I'm looking forward to the turning point now to know where they're going with this, since we are, essentially at the halfway mark.
If we're getting more and more, 8's going to get really shifted in the story. By the time we get, if we're getting more and more of the bad guy, by the time we get to 8's story, it's going to be like a page.
There was a crazy rumor circulating that because Daphne Ashbrook said something on Facebook, and everybody flipped out and thought maybe they were actually going to include Grace in the comic book as the companion.
They are.
What?
It's official, yeah. It's a real thing. IDW announced it.
Really?
Yeah, Grace is going to be the companion.
Bonus.
It's a real thing.
Well, I'm excited to read that.
well,
one.
I am too, and they must have gotten around some of the issues then that they had with the litigation on it. So, terrific.
Or maybe because
I'm double checking it, but
that might end up being my favorite in the series.
maybe because it's offshoot media, it doesn't count. I don't know how that works.
I would think that they would have been able to use Grace in novels and
Big Finish.
Big Finish,
Unless they consider-
they've
because
never been able to use Big Finish either. That's my point. It's because of rights issues they've never been able to use Grace in anything so far. Till now, obviously.
Well, I'm double checking.
Yay.
Let me confirm.
Well, while he's looking that up, should we move on to Doctor Revisited?
On a BBC America station somewhere in a neighborhood that you don't get.
Yeah.
There's a documentary about the Fifth Doctor.
At least on TARDIS Wikia. After helping defeat the Master, the Doctor attempts to convince Grace Holloway to join him on his travels in this untold tale. And that's the description I saw elsewhere on various sites.
So it's a Master story? Thanks for spoiling that,
I think
Keith.
it's a post-Master story.
So it's about a mailman?
He takes...
Wait, say that again. You just read that the Master comes to convince.
After helping him to defeat the Master, the Doctor attempts to convince Grace Holloway to join him on his travels. So he goes and takes the Master wherever.
No, it's right after Doctor Who the movie. The Master was in Doctor Who the movie.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's right after that he goes and takes the Master elsewhere.
He doesn't take him anywhere.
Take him anywhere. He's
digested in the TARDIS. He's gone.
So it's a deleted scene from the movie.
I don't know where it's going to be set.
Before he takes off.
Well, it ends with him taking off. So
and trying to convince her.
He must come back and pick her back up.
Or tries to.
It very easily could be one of those... Okay, I've changed my mind. I really think you should come with me.
Well, it's not, because we see after that he sits down and starts reading.
But she could be exploring.
That's why I say a deleted scene.
She could be exploring the TARDIS. She could be changing in the wardrobe, and he's set course and is waiting for her to come. I'd be all right with that. Works for me.
All right, well, let's talk about Revisited. I have to agree with Chrissy. This is the best Revisited they've done so far. At least the most thorough and
the most thorough.
And hit on the most points that I thought needed to be hit on any one Doctor's era. Now, granted, they were only having to work with 3 years, but as opposed to Tom's long tenure, and I thought they did a fine job on the third Doctor's tenure, even though that's only 3 years. But
no, you didn't think they did a third job on it.
No, I thought they did an okay job, but for being 3 years. But this one was really.
He was really there for 5, though. It was only 3 seasons, but it was 5 years.
Seasons. That's what I meant. Seasons. But this one just, having everybody come back and do something, and like Chrissy said, even talking to Nicola, and not even because we can't at this point they can't talk about Perry because she really is a Sixth Doctor companion. So, but having that and having that talked about, David and Matthew are hardly in this one, but the things that they do lend to this are very poignant, and so it was like the perfect David. Stephen and David.
Okay.
That's where we're going.
Say Stephen and Matthew?
You said Stephen and Matthew.
You said David and Matthew.
You said David and Matthew.
Yeah, sorry, having David and Stephen in this.
I say Matt Wilderhouse was trying to buy it.
He was in it too.
And surprised me.
Being in, just kind of injecting a little something in, and what they said was very important, but then they weren't there much.
They were almost there as more of a transitional piece.
Yeah, kind of. So,
what makes this so, in my mind, so much better than all the rest of them? It's because they have everybody back to talk about it. Everybody is available to come and talk about their time on the show, and even if it's for 4 minutes that they get, that's just fantastic. It's what I think they were wanting to do with the other specials, but just didn't have the people to do it, and now they are actually getting to do it, and it makes me really look forward to 6s and 7 and 8s. And
6 won't be hard to do because there's only 2 companions.
I wonder how they're going to fill out a half hour with 6, actually. But
I think they'll do fine.
What I was actually thinking,
I think they'll talk about the controversies.
I almost wonder if they won't. There's a part of me that because the show very much is designed to be a promo.
Well, that's true.
For
it's
the
not
Doctor.
Really it's not behind the scenes.
You don't want to go into the
just
whole
about the character.
Yeah,
itself,
you don't want to go into the whole. Yeah, BBC was trying to get us off the air, and this guy really hated our work. And I mean, because that puts everybody in a bad light in a way. That's now promoting the show. Yeah. So I think they'll stay away from that.
Although it wouldn't surprise me if there's a bit where Moffat talks about where. Very politely saying
Moffat has always colored what the attitude or the environment is like based on what was happening outside.
Right.
Yeah.
He has always interjected those small things about that.
He may come up with some very tactful way of saying due to external pressure or something along those lines.
He's going to say it tactfully. He's not going to come out and say what all fans know. But
I don't know. It might make for a more interesting special if they just laid it all out there. But no, this one I thought was really, really good. And kind of like what Keith said is the fact that they did get everybody to come back and talk on it, which unfortunately really sours me on the third Doctor one. Because you didn't have Katie Manning. And that is... it's inexcusable. I mean, if they're past, I get it. I understand why they're not there. You have somebody, maybe her availability didn't work. Okay, reshoot the special or shoot her stuff at another time. You still get her to be part of that. It just really, really cheapened, that whole segment. But I thought they did a good job with the documentary portion of it, the Team TARDIS portion of it. I think it's interesting that it's backwards. We always refer to it as Team TARDIS.
They say TARDIS team.
And they say TARDIS team. It threw me. I realized it today when I watched it.
Because Team TARDIS is Amy, Rory, and River. And TARDIS team is...
Team TARDIS is whoever's with him at the time, in my mind.
Well, I think that's why I say that, because that's where that's where Team TARDIS comes from. Is a lot of people referred to the trio with the Doctor in the new series as Team TARDIS.
See, I always called the Fifth Doctor's era was Team TARDIS.
Yeah.
Because instead of the companion,
it's a team.
it is a team.
You got a gang now.
You got a lot of people there.
You know what I find interesting is it's the Doctor and his companions, the Doctor and his companions, but every time a companion refers to
it's the assistant,
the companions, they refer to them as the assistant.
Yeah. I noticed that today, too.
So strange. It's like...
And that's what an assistant should do.
Because I think companion, in some people's mind, especially in American minds, is more of a sexual or a relationship, reference. A companion is somebody that's a little more than just an assistant or a friend.
The Doctor and his life partner.
Yeah. it's just so maybe that's why they always go to assistant.
But no, I thought this was...
But that was another thing when I was at Galley. A lot of the quote-unquote companion actors that I talked to there, even in the older shows, like Victoria, Deborah Watling said assistant at one point, and Mark Strickson said assistant at one time, and Peter Purvis said assistant at one time in one of his... Well, when I was actually talking to him.
Now, Martha, she said companion.
Did she?
In her interview.
I couldn't remember, but I think you're right.
I wonder if that's a transitional thing, because I think as fans we've always called them companions.
Yeah, even back in the day.
I mean, that's always been.
Well, there's always been subtle references in them saying companion instead of assistant.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of strange that maybe there's a movement to try and get it changed. Maybe that's a new thing.
No, I don't think so.
No,
I think it was just that one. Maybe that was
Trekkies upset at being called Trekkies
was
now.
Not
Trekkers
used on the set back in the day. It was always assistant, but companion became something that the fans put on there. So they're still used to calling them assistants because that's what it was in the production. But it's companions because that's what it's become in the mythos.
Well, and especially when you get to Liz's portion, he really is more of an assistant than a companion.
That's true, Liz.
Yeah, but she'd fight that definition every way.
Well, yeah, that's true. She would.
She would be very much.
And Joe, for the first part of it, was an assistant.
Yeah. Now, Joe was very much an assistant.
And then she became a companion.
But anyway.
We digress.
Yeah, I do.
I thought they might go into a little bit more on the villain side of thing. I was kind of surprised that they stuck. Not necessarily that they stuck because they had such a large Team TARDIS to talk about. That we talked about Cyberman, we talked about Master. I thought maybe they would have dabbled just a little bit on the idea that while Chrissy's right, there's a lot of one-off villains, but a lot of them are returning villains. I think the Fifth Doctor sees a lot of. I mean, we get Omega, we get Cyberman, we get Daleks, we get the Master, obviously returning. So a lot of his villains I thought were kind of recycled. And I know that there's specifically one season that John Nathan Turner specifically said, this is what I want to do. Every villain this season's
right.
Well, that was for the anniversary,
for the anniversary year. But they didn't touch on that, and I was surprised that they didn't touch at all on the 20th. That they didn't talk about the 5 Doctors. I thought there would have been at least a mention that this was a banner year and a banner time for the show, blah blah blah. But they didn't go there. Other than that, I mean, I'm not complaining. I still thought it was. I agree with you guys. It was certainly one of the best ones.
Although we did get clips from the 5 Doctors.
Yeah,
they showed
about the Cybermen.
They showed the master jumping across the board, and then they showed the Cybermen lumbering.
But
wasn't there also reference to a Rassen robot in it? Did somebody mention
Remember
it? I thought there was.
Warrior Robot.
Maybe I'm missing. Maybe I'm remembering wrong.
I'm ready to watch the Five Doctors again. But yeah, no, I definitely thought this was one of the better ones that they've done, and I agree with you guys. It made me...
I was kind of expecting them to mention the Merca. Just because...
When there was that
there was a point where Doctor Who effects fans said it reached its worst and showed the Merca. I expected something like that, but I was a little surprised.
Wasn't there a clip from Warriors of the Deep that
pretty
didn't
sure
have the
there
Merca
was.
in it, but it was like, because I recognized it, I went, oh, I wonder if they're going to, and then they went and did not talk. They went over here because I was like, bring on the Merca!
I think they showed a sea level.
I don't think they showed a sea
You don't think that was that?
I don't remember anything.
I don't remember that.
I just remember a clip of him in a hallway and went, oh, I think that's Warriors of the Deep. I wonder if they're going to... Nope, they didn't.
No, there is the clip of Tegan when she's hiding up against the wall, but they didn't go. She kind of ducks into the little like alcove, and then two Silurians walk by, but you don't see. You see her duck into the alcove, and then they cut away, and you don't see.
Maybe subconsciously we were already editing and going, yeah, this is where this happens.
Could be. So anyway,
Yeah.
I thought it was an enjoyable one. I thought it was among the best of the Doctor Who Revisited, and I think it's really whet my appetite for 6.
I concur. Well, Sean, what's coming up next on the schedule?
Well, next week, Friday Night Who, we are going to finish Inferno. We watched the first 4 parts of it. Where were you, by the way?
I wasn't feeling well. So.
Oh.
Back was hurting again. So.
Okay, that's acceptable. And you?
I was in Virginia.
Oh yeah, you were.
Wasn't in Maryland yet.
Well, we're gonna. Now, do you need to borrow it to get caught up, or
No, I'm good.
Okay. We're gonna finish it. We're gonna watch 5, 6, and 7. Which, wow, I had not seen Inferno. I'll be honest. I know it's one of those that I know how it ends, but I never watched it. I never sat down and watched it, and I was ready, despite the fact that it's a 7-parter. There's only one part in the first half of this where I felt like it was dragging. I was ready to keep going,
really,
even though I had to get up early the next day. And
I've never seen all of it, but I've seen parts of it, and I remember the parts that I have seen. I remember enjoying a lot.
Yeah,
of it.
it's a good one.
I picked up the special edition. So
oh, did you?
Yeah, this week, so I've got a copy of it. So.
And then our show next week for the big 130th. It's an epiversary of magnitude proportions.
Or not.
We're going to talk Inferno, which we'll be reviewing it, and then we'll also have our actual discussion of the 50th anniversary era of the Fifth Doctor, and we'll be voting for what his episode is the most iconic. There's still time to vote in the poll on Facebook, which I wisely pinned to the top of the page now to make it a little easier to find. Although right now it's a landslide.
Black Orchid.
Yes. Black Orchid is the most iconic Fifth Doctor.
That was my vote.
Harlequin outfit just really does it. You've got a little bit of respite then on homework because there's nothing, just finishing Inferno. The following week, we jump back to Hartnell's era with the Ark. And then we're doing, for the show 131, we're doing the Ark and Ish, which I think you had complained about because we had it on the schedule at one point and we bumped it, and you'd already listened to it. Well, now we're finally going to talk about it.
Actually, I had listened to most of it. I think it was 2/3 of the way through it. That was another thing I did this weekend, or no, actually Friday morning when I was mowing. I went ahead and finished Ish, so
okay.
I'm done with Ish now. So.
That's a great idea.
Mowing?
Mowing, yeah. That was.
I do. I listen to a lot of these things when I do yard work. I'm halfway through the Sixth Doctor.
Destiny of the
Doctor?
Yeah, now by now as well. So.
Cool. And then in July, it's all Trial of the Time Lord, which I got in the mail. I'm so excited. So that's where we're at.
Terrific. All right. Well, if that's going to do it for this week, until next week, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you.
Really? You're just going to be seeing you?
Be seeing you.
You're kind of down.
Still tired.
Look tired. You're ready to go to bed. I would thought we were going somewhere witty with this, but apparently not.
Nope. It's too tired.
Yeah.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.